right, we are live. Yes, it looks like we are live, and we are live on Amazon. All right, what should we do today? What should we do? Well, I think we should unbox another computer that just came in. And what I'm going to do real quick is make a little directory. I'm going to put this on the extras channel because I haven't been giving enough love to the extras channel, so we are going to do that real quick. So we're going to create that folder, and I'll wait for some of you to shuffle in, as they say. And I don't know what this one will cost. I think I've got the specs, though. So why don't we look at that real quick? And I got Jason Jones and Rob Hanks and Anthony Biacco. Anthony says, when I was asking what should we do, he says we should do the same thing everyone else is doing all over the world, which is just do the same thing. So that's it. And we got Gustavo Ribeiro here. Welcome. So yeah, this is a brand new Lenovo. Oh, it's a nice one. Oh, it's a really nice one. This is a Lenovo Legion 5. And I'll zoom in on the label here so you can see what we're going to be doing. I'm not going to do too much with this because Jake is going to take this and do his thing with it. But I figured we can unbox it and then see, take it apart and see what we can upgrade on it. And then that should fill the hour. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. So what do we have? We have a new Legion 5. And this is the top-end gaming laptop from Lenovo. This one has, it's got an i9, a 1090 HK. So let's see. Let's go pull up, oh, what did I do? What did I do? Am I still on? I hit the wrong button. Let's pull up i9-10980HK. And let's see what we got here. Hang on, I got like stuff loading up on my cloud server here. So this processor, this is an 8-core mobile processor. It's got 8 cores and 16 threads. So this would be like, you could run your vMix thing off of this. This is almost like a laptop version of my fancy computer that is doing all the stuff you are seeing right now. And it has a 2080 Super. And of course, they just announced all of the new 30 stuff. So I will take full, by the way, Noah D just logged into the Amazon chat. I will take full responsibility for the fact that I bought an overpriced 2080 Ti just a few months ago, which is now $500. Because that's what the new equivalent is, the 3070, I guess. So there you go. I'm not buying a 3090 yet, though. I don't really need that, unless there was like some compelling VR thing. Good, but this has a 20 Super deal. And I'm just going to believe this is could mean not quick as top Super. But let me confirm quick. See, I'm email they sent. Okay, so that they said they were sending me a 2070, but this has got on loan from Lenovo. Just walk laptops because you can laptop discover my wife's again. What else we got here? A desktop. Okay, I think we're back. And in case you're wondering, I don't have my faster connection yet. Okay, so, and you know what's the worst part about this? Is that I can't complain anymore because they are like trying to make it better for me, but I still can't get any better until they actually get us our better connection. So we're just gonna have to suffer through it for a little bit longer. Okay, but definitely keep letting me know if you see problems, because I will correct. And these are not my addresses on here, by the way. Okay, so hopefully this will stay up for another 5 or 10 minutes and then it'll crash again. But the good news is I record everything locally. So that is, that's the deal there. All right, so we're going to unbox this thing first, and then we're going to take it apart. And then we'll see how much time we got left, because I've got like 3 videos that are shot and I have to get them all packaged up. So I have to go do that after this. And then we'll be good to go. I'm having a very productive couple of weeks here, which is good. So there we go. And usually what happens, I get a little note from YouTube when it starts glitching out. The problem is I can't really listen to the stream because it'll echo back on you. And what I'm trying to do is figure out a way to script vMix to look for the drop in the bit rate and then just like put the slate up automatically. And what's interesting is I was using that Amazon solution and I figured out I screwed it up. After the power went out, my IP address changed and I had the security profile to lock into only my IP address. So I was spending like hours trying to figure it out. And it turns out it was all my fault. But I already got the vMix thing set up on Shadow here, so I'm just kind of going to stick with that. Okay, here we go. I'm going to do the unboxing. And then we're going to take it apart. And that's the plan. Okay, so we're going to hit the record button. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we've got another unboxing of something I've been looking forward to trying out. This is the new Legion 7 from Lenovo. This is their top-end gaming laptop, and the one they sent us has an i9-10980HK. This is a 8-core processor. It has 512 gigs of SSD storage and a 1 terabyte SSD as well, so 2 SSDs on this one. 32 gigs of RAM and an RTX 2080 Super. I think this might be the Max-Q version, and we'll find out for sure when we start doing all of our testing on this. Now, I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this is on loan from Lenovo. So when we're done with this, it goes back to them. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. They are not paying for this unboxing, nor are they reviewing it or approving it before it gets uploaded. So let's dive into the box here and see what we get. This must be the power supply. And whenever you buy one of these gaming notebooks, they have big power supplies because they have a lot of stuff that is being powered inside. So this is a 230-watt power brick. It's actually smaller than the one that I have on the prior generation Legion. I bought one of these last year. So it is a little bit smaller, but still quite large. And I'm sure we'll have some decent sounding fans on this too. And let's get the computer out of the box here. And again, this is the 15-inch model. And what I've liked about these Lenovos, especially the one that I have, is that they're not very big. So you can carry it around with you. You know, it's something that's more laptop-like than a desktop with big fans and everything else. They're really very compact in their overall size. So let's get the box open here, as you can see. Again, 15-inch laptop. And let's see what it looks like. So on first blush, it reminds me a lot of the one that I have already. And I'll cut to my other shot here. Let me just tilt down a little bit so you can get a better view of this. We're live streaming this unboxing while we're doing it here, so it's a little longer than our usual ones. And let's have a look. So yeah, very nice. And it looks like they managed to fit a number pad on. The one that I have from last year doesn't have a number pad, I believe. You got a nice click pad here. And it looks like you can click in most of it. You can click up to about the upper third here. And like the Legion 5 that we looked at recently, you can adjust the fan speed just with a function key on the power button here. We'll demo that in the full review. By the way, we're going to have a full review of this soon on the main channel at Lon.TV. Now on the left-hand side here, we have a Thunderbolt 3 port and then a USB-C port. So it looks like there's only one Thunderbolt port here. You have a headphone microphone jack over there. And then most of the ports here are on the back. So we have HDMI out. We have USB 3. This is a 10 gigabit per second 3.2 port. You have gigabit Ethernet here. You've got another 10 gigabit USB 3 port. Your power goes in here, and you've got a Kensington lock. Remember, you've got to keep things clear for airflow. So you have your air intake here, and it looks like the exhaust is out the back. And then on the right-hand side, we have another USB 3 port, although it looks like this one is a 5 gig port. And that's pretty much it for ports. Nice keyboard. Looks pretty good. All right, so this is the 1080p version. What we're going to do now is take it apart and see what we can upgrade on it. So let's get it taken apart. All right, good enough. I'll edit that down a little bit. All right, let's see what kind of chats did I miss here. So let me just go and edit some items here. I'm just going to add my... How was that unboxing? Was that a good unboxing, everybody? It's about 3.5 minutes. And I don't know what display this has, to be honest, because I don't think it says on the box what it is. This says 15.6-inch Full HD IPS. But I don't know. You know what I'll do? I'll boot it up real quick and just see what it has for a display. And it's a nice color. Isn't that pretty? Wow, it already came up. That was quick. Let me tilt the camera up here a little bit, and let's see if we can figure out what the display is capable of. And then we'll shut it down and take it apart. It feels about the same size. So I'll show you the one I have. Where did I put it? So my objective this weekend is to actually once and for all clean this disaster that I live in or work in. Just get it all cleaned up. So on second thought, it feels as though it is a little bit thinner. So this is the one that I have from last year. This is the 740. So this one actually feels a little thinner and a little lighter, but a similar design. So you can see all the wasted space here? So you had room, right? And here, oh, you know what they did though? So they got rid of the macro keys, and that gave them room for the number pad. And they were able to make the arrow keys bigger too. And then unlike this one, mine has a click pad. So this one already looks a little dated, right? But it's still I've been so happy with this. And I don't do a lot of gaming on it, believe it or not. I've been doing mostly video production with this. So this has been, if I have to do something with live streaming outside of this space, I take this with me. So we've used this for some things that I've done upstairs. We've used it for some things that I've helped the school out with. So we did the high school graduation, 8 hours of streaming off of one of these on vMix with 3 cameras coming in over NDI. It was pushing the processor a bit, but it handled it all. It was really good. So that was good stuff. All right, so let's see if we can find out what the display is on this one. So it looks like there's a 120 or a 240 hertz version. And so my Legion, my 740, is 120. I have a feeling they probably sent us the higher end one. Let's go to advanced display. Yeah, this is the 240 hertz one. So I'm going to make note of that actually real quick. and I'll share that with Jake. So this is the Legion 7. Did I call it a Legion 7? I hope I did. Let me make sure. Hang on a second. Okay, so we're going to hit the record button. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we've got another unboxing of something I've been looking forward to trying out. This is the new Legion 7 from Lenovo. All right, good. Didn't say the wrong thing. So this is the Legion 7. I do like the fact that they've made their product line easier to interpret. And they call this the 7i, which leads me to think they'll probably have an AMD version of this as well. But you know, when you get into the gaming laptops with the GPUs, it's not as important, I don't think. All right, so Lenovo Legion 7. I'm just getting my little cheat sheet ready here. And we'll say 1080p, IPS, 240 hertz. And it is a non-touch display, though. So there you go. Twin Diesel, this has an i9 on board. So this is an 8-core. I can show you real quick. We're going to take it apart in a second. So if we go to Performance and go to CPU, I think there's a way to break out all of the... Oops, I didn't want to do that. We can break out all of the threads and stuff on this. I got to remember how to do that. There we go. Change graph to logical processors. So there you go. So you got all that. Pretty crazy. On a laptop. Isn't that crazy? And this one has 32 gigs of... Oh, wait a second. Hold up. So this is not the i9. Even though the box says it's the i9. I wonder if they put the wrong thing in the box. So this was not... That was not correct. So this one actually has an i7 10750H, which is no slouch either, but it's not, you know, it's not a... all right, so we're going to have to do a little correction when we look at this. Let's see here. So the i7 10750H is a 6-core chip with 12... I was going to say, I think we were short a couple of threads here. So what they sent us in the box was different than what the box said it was. Maybe they got their boxes mixed up. Because what happens with these is that these go into their performance lab and they make sure they work. Because the last thing you want to do is send computers out to reviewers and have them not work. So they get everything installed and, you know, make sure they're all working. I bet you they put this one in the wrong box. And what I tell them actually is I prefer the lower end machines because let's check out the. I may have to redo this entire this entire thing. So I think I'm going to redo this a little bit. Yeah, so this one is the 2070 with Max-Q. So everything you saw in the box is not what this is, but that's okay. I think this is more affordable. And what I say to them is like, can you send, and I kid you not, can you send me the lowest priced configuration? Because I like to know what the floor is for this stuff, because a lot of times when you get these things in, they will send you, and this is not Lenovo. Lenovo's pretty good about this, but some of the others, they want to send you like the top of the line version. So you're reviewing based on what most people won't buy. So it's good to get the more affordable, realistic version of the laptop. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of nix that whole unboxing thing and maybe just make this a take apart video. I think that's how we're going to do this. Because it's all, like the entire specs are wrong. So I think we'll just do the take apart thing. And let me put some notes down on here as well to make sure I get the right specs here. 10750H, 6-core. And I'm guessing, how much RAM do we have on here? Because I think this is lining up with the specs that they emailed me, so I'm guessing that this is 16 gigs. No, this has got 32, okay. So we got 32 gigabyte RAM, and then an RTX 2070 Max-Q. Okay. And that way I can get my notes up to date here. All right. So now we are on track. So I think I'm going to redo my intro real quick, and we'll just kind of poke around, see what it looks like. And yeah, so we'll call this like a preview. I haven't done a preview before. I usually do unboxings as previews, but this might be kind of a fun thing there. Okay, so let's go and delete that file that I just created. Bear with me for 1 second, folks. Well, it's good to know they've got like an i9 monster machine. So somebody's going to get the other one and be like, oh, what did they send me? It's the wrong one. And then they'll take it out and be like, whoa, this thing's a monster. Okay, so let me go in and fix that real quick. I'll just delete the file. Okay. All right, let's try that again. It's so weird to like not unbox something on the Extras channel. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're doing a quick one. Actually, I'm going to call this a preview. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we've got a preview of something we're going to be reviewing a little bit later on my main channel at Lon.TV. This is the new Legion 7 from Lenovo, and in full disclosure, they sent this to the channel free of charge. What we'll be looking at in that review is the i7 10750. I'm like blabbering on blah, 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 blah. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we've got a preview today because we just got in the Lenovo Legion 7 to take a look at. This one has the i7 10750H processor. That's a 6-core chip. It has 32 gigs of RAM and an RTX 2070 Max-Q. And we'll be doing a full review of this on my main channel at Lon.TV. But in this video, what we're going to do is take it apart and see what's upgradable on it. The one they sent us also has a 1080p 240 Hz display. Looks pretty nice. I have the 740 from last year. It feels a little bit thinner than that one. You've got a few different ports on this new one as well. So they've got the Thunderbolt 3 port on the side like before, but they added a USB Type-C port as well. But this does not appear to be a Thunderbolt port. You have a headphone microphone jack over there. On the other side, you've got your USB 3 port. And then you've got on the back here, HDMI out, USB 3.2, which is a Gen 2 port, 10 gigabits per second, gigabit Ethernet, another Gen 2 port for USB 3, and your power goes in there, and then you've got a Kensington lock. It looks like they added a few more lights to the mix as well, so you've got some lights in the fan assembly there, and a longer light here on the bottom, which I'm sure you can configure to your heart's delight. They added a number pad, but got rid of the macro keys that were on the side of last year's model, and the trackpad now is a click pad. But again, we'll have more details on this in a later review that's coming up soon on the main channel. But now we're going to take this thing apart and see what it looks like inside by popping off the bottom case here. Let's do that now. Okay, I did not do my disclaimer that they loaned this to me, so I will have to add that. And I'll just do that while we take it apart. Okay. So there we go. I think that worked better. Let me just watch that real quick and see if I'm happy with it. So stand by, folks. 3, 2, 1. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we've got a preview today because we just got in the Lenovo Legion 7 to take a look at. This one has the i7 10750H processor. That's a 6-core chip. It has 32 gigs of RAM and an RTX 2070 Max-Q. And we'll be doing a full review of this on my main channel at Lon.TV. But in this video, what we're going to do is take it apart and see what's upgradable on it. The one they sent us also has a 1080p 240 Hz display. Looks pretty nice. I have the 740 from last year. It feels a little bit thinner than that one. You've got a few different ports on this new one as well. But now we're going to take this thing apart. All right, I'm happy with that. It's good enough. Okay, so now we're going to shut this thing down. I really actually kind of like the click pad on this thing. It feels nice and it's got a nice click to it. All right, so we're going to shut it down and wait for the lights on the keyboard to go off here. Okay, so that's off. So now we're going to flip it over. Now, you know what they also changed on here is that they used to have like a 2-part component to this, and now it's just one piece. So we're going to get out some tools now, And if you're watching on Amazon, I will let you know what I'm playing with here. So I've got one of these magnetic screw holders, which are really helpful because as you're taking these laptops apart, they don't always put this, like sometimes the screws are different sizes based on where they go. So the nice thing with one of these pads is that you can use a whiteboard or one of those whiteboard markers on it and kind of write out notes and stuff, but also you've got grids, so you can kind of grid things out based on where you got them in the laptop. And because it's magnetic, the screws don't fall off if you happen to knock the table or something. And I have carpet here that's dark in color, so things get lost all the time. So that's one thing that I use. And then a couple of years ago, and you can find all this on the link you see in the description, I bought this Oriya toolkit from Amazon's Prime Day. It is super affordable, and you get all the stuff you need to take computers apart. It's got everything. It even has like all those weird Torx screws and stuff for the Mac. So I have yet to find a computer that I can't take apart with this kit. It's really good. And it's cheap. So if you're not like a professional computer person, like doing this all day long, this is more than adequate. And you can always find a screwdriver head that fits your project. So here's the one for this one. You know, it's funny, I've been doing this now with this kit for so long, I know exactly what screws just by looking at them now. So I'm getting pretty good at it. So I'm curious as to how easy it is to get into this. And I have a feeling we're going to see some different size screws here, so it's probably good that we're, yep, oh no, not yet. They're still all the same size so far. All right, I'll take a look at the advanced BIOS when we boot it back up again. Somebody was asking about that. So F2 function, wow, that's a lot to type in there, and then save and then re-enter BIOS and unlock the advanced BIOS. My goodness. It's like a game code. So Thin Diesel, what does the advanced BIOS get you? I'm curious. All right, so we'll just take it apart here. And by the way, this is on loan from Lenovo. Every laptop from Lenovo is loaned to us unless I buy one. I've bought a few. Okay, so here's a great example, what I was just talking about. Let me get this other screw out, okay? And this is why having one of these magnetic things is helpful. Because, check it out, the top row of screws is much longer than the middle row. So it's good to know where the screws came from, right? All right, so let's get this one out. And these bottom screws are also short screws too. All right, so let's see how easy this case comes off. Could we do it without a spudger? That's the question. And it does not appear to be the case. I'm not sure how it slides out here or not. It might just pop up. So you definitely need a spudger. Oops. So we've got to find a good spot to get the spudger worked in. And then you can crack open the case. This thing came with some spudgers too, by the way. So I got these little tools here that can slip in between the cracks. And as I mentioned, every time we take one of these things apart, is you want to be very gentle with them and just kind of find where you can get the spudger worked in. Because once you find your in, it usually comes apart pretty easily. But so far, this one is being a little bit more difficult. And I had another spudger. Here it is. And these spudgers are kind of like guitar picks. I bought a set from whatchamacallit, iFixit, but they come apart, like they just break apart so easily. So I'm going to try to find a better brand. Because I understand it's got to be thin, but if it's so thin it cracks every time you use it, they're pretty much disposable. All right, so it looks like this piece comes up, so the vent side here comes up with it. There we go. Now we're working our way in. There we go. See, just a little patience, and you can get into just about any computer. Because remember, most of the time these bottom cases kind of latch in with plastic. So you want to be really careful as you're taking these things apart. And it's a little complicated here because these things on the side come up with it. So we have to get in there as well. And what we're doing here is just separating everything out. And after we're done, it'll just pop right off. And it'll usually pop back on without too much effort. But sometimes when you put it back down again, it reattaches, so you gotta get in there again. All right. Let's keep working it here. And again, you just take your time and wait for everything to come off, and it all will eventually. But if you rush things and really force stuff, then you risk damaging your fancy new computer. So that's why you want to be really careful with this stuff. There we go. Okay, boom. We are in. This is very tight. So it looks like, yeah, so your RAM is under here. Just trying to see if there's an easy way of getting that plate up. Let's see. You can just separate the parts here. So it just comes right off like that. I'm just being real careful because we did not disconnect the battery. And I'm just making sure that the RAM is actually under this and upgradable as opposed to that one in the back there. Well, it's very well shielded. Yeah, I think I see how this is coming together. So it looks like it's a nice big little cage that goes over the RAM. I'm just trying to be really gentle here so we're not breaking anything. There it goes. Nice and gentle. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't say they were going to have an AMD option. Somebody was asking about that. But they're calling this one the I, the 7i. So I'm guessing there will be an AMD one as well. Yeah, I think we're just going to let that RAM be. I'm not going to try to break anything here. I will double check though. What we will do real quick is we'll double check and see. Usually Lenovo has some really good manuals for, they have manuals on their website for, doing maintenance. So let me see if I can find, David's devices just popped in. Welcome, Legion 7i. Let's see if we can find the, maintenance manual. Bear with me for 1 second. So I just want to make sure that the RAM is indeed upgradable. I'm pretty sure it is. I can't see them having a machine without that. I'm just checking it real quick. All right, here we go. We'll take a look at this real quick. And you know what I'll do here is I will share my screen with you so you can see exactly what I'm looking at. So bear with me, folks. And then we'll take a look at the hardware maintenance manual. And vMix is up. Go to NDI here. And David's Devices says he's glad to be here as always, and we're glad to have you here. Thank you for stopping by. All right, so let's take a look at the manual. So we'll just scroll down here until we find the, let's see if there's a thing in the contents about that. Removing FRU or CRU, remove the LCD bezel, remove memory module. Page 37. Here you go. So boom. So the RAM is right underneath that, so you can totally upgrade that. All right, good stuff. Now, what else do we have on the board here? Well, you got a ton of cooling. And you've got two NVMe slots here. So we've got one here and one here. So you could add two NVMe slots. Now what's missing on this one, which the old ones had, which is they had a SATA drive and they had an NVMe. So mine has one NVMe and one SATA. This one just has two SATAs. But these drives are, sorry, two NVMe's. But these are now so inexpensive, there's really no reason to get a SATA anymore. So they definitely made some big changes to this. All right, so let's get the next stage of the video going here. And let's see. Rob Hanks, I would imagine the copper heat pipes for the 2070 are under the shroud. They likely are. Let's see if we can have a glimpse underneath there. I can't imagine them not using copper, right? I'm just nervous about removing anything and having thermal paste come up. But you know what we can do is we can check over on Notebook Check and see what they have on there. Now, I noticed a little piece of plastic just came out of here, so we gotta be careful here when we put it back together. And you've got thermal pads that go over the NVMe's also. This one, of course, is not cooling anything at the moment. Interesting. All right, let's take a look at, I'm going to check Notebook Check real quick and see if they have taken this apart so we can see if there are copper heat sinks there. Because I'm reluctant if I do any, I don't want to damage it first of all because it's not mine, but also, yeah, let's see here. But Notebook Check, if you've never seen their site, they're usually really good. They go into the serious details on these things. Yeah, so let's take a look here. There's some images from Lenovo. So this is an image from Lenovo. Although it looks like maybe it's inside the shroud or underneath it, because I'm not seeing any copper on that. So I'm reluctant to like take the whole thing apart here, but we'll demo it for people. All right, let's take a look. You want to? I'll do a quick peek in here and see if we can. I'll take this one off and see what we get here. It's got like a spring-loaded screw here too. Let's see if we can get this off. Oh, this whole thing is like attached. Okay, so there's a whole, I see it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh boy, I put these in the right spot. So you guys have me going down the rabbit hole here. It's not coming up. I'm guessing like this entire fan assembly has to come off. Let me see if I can get some images of it. Like I said, I'm really reluctant to take this entire thing apart. So I usually like to just focus on the upgradability. But we found the cooling on these to be pretty good in the past. Oh, great. See, now I'm not even following my own advice. These screws are all different sizes. Great. Ah. Let's put this one. This was the one I got from there. Yeah, it looks like this is a very completely encased kind of cooling system here. So yeah, I'm really kind of reluctant to go too crazy with this. The good news is these screws all appear to be the same size. But they're not going in as well as they did when they came out. So I'm just going to stop right here before I do something I regret. But these are nice computers. And like I said, I've had one. I have the old version. And I'm very happy with mine. And if you're patient, usually around the holidays, you can get a good deal on one of these things. Okay. I think those are back in for the most part there. Okay. All right. So let's pick it up from where we left off. Rob Hanks wants to know, is an iFixit kit worth it? Well, I think the iFixit kit might be. Like I said, I just bought their like little spudger tools, and I was not happy with just how easily they broke apart. So I was less happy about that, but I think that some of their other kits might be pretty good. And they give you some really good guides to use as well. Okay. And no worries, everybody. Look, if we could have gotten that off easy and made added some value to the video here, I think it would have been useful. So I never apologize. I'm always up for suggestions. But I try to be really careful with these. I'm on the hook for these if anything breaks, obviously. So, okay. So we're going to lift the case off here. 3, 2, 1. Now I should mention this came in on loan from Lenovo, and they will be getting this back when we're done with our review. So all of the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this unboxing, nor is anyone reviewing it or approving it before it gets uploaded, or I guess I should say this unchassising. So on the bottom here, you can see the cooling system laid out, very similar to what I remembered last year's looking like. You've got 2 sticks of RAM under this shield here, so you can very easily get at that and swap RAM out. This one came with 32 gigs, which I think will be more than adequate. Now, the big change on this one over last year's version is that you now have 2 NVMe slots. So last year they had 1 NVMe and a SATA hard drive position. Now you can put 2 NVMe's in, which makes sense because they've come down in price pretty significantly. So you can upgrade RAM and storage on this, but as usual, processor and GPU are locked in with whatever you buy when you first picked it up. And you've got your battery down here, and we'll take a look at battery life when we do the full review. Typically on these gaming laptops, battery life is never something you buy one of these for. So I guess if you don't run any games or anything and keep it low key, you should be in pretty good shape. But I found with these Lenovo's, and we'll have to check this one, they usually disable the Intel video and only run the NVIDIA GPU. And that, of course, will consume more power. So we're going to put this thing back together and have a full review soon on the main channel at Lon.TV, so stay tuned. All right. So Greg makes a good point. The guitar picks work just as well. In fact, that's what this might be. They could have went to a guitar pick manufacturer and said, hey, can you make us a blue one with our logo? So, yep, it's pretty much the same stuff. Feels just like a guitar pick. Okay. All right, so now to put it back together, we just kind of get the case back on, and you just kind of snap it back in, and then you put the screws on. And you can hear it just kind of latching on as we put pressure on it. There it goes. And usually these things come together pretty easily. It's a little weird in the back here, because on the back you have, you've got to get the plastic on this part back over the top. So you have to just kind of work on it a little bit there. There it goes. Every time you hear a click, you've got one of those things engaging. And we're good. So now we're going to put the screws back on. And remember, we have our magnetic screw holder because all of the screws are different sizes. And David's Devices says in the Amazon chat that it's likely just copper painted on for style. That's probably the case. I kind of like copper, though. I would think it would look cool just to have like the copper exposed like that. All right, so let's take this big screw in the back here, and we'll. So Rob Hanks wants to know, how long do they let you have them for? So typically, you keep them for about 30 days or so. So usually what I do is I do the review, post the review, and then we'll hang on to it for a week or so after that, just in case there are any questions from people that I might have missed. More often than not, we get everything answered for people's satisfaction, and then I send it back. Although sometimes I get caught behind a little bit. So they make so much stuff, and they keep me busy. So we get a lot of these Lenovos in, as you know. So I'm often behind. So sometimes I will keep things a little bit longer than 30 days just because I get caught behind. So right now I got in, right during that whole power outage thing that we were dealing with last month, I got in their new ARM-based machine, which I'm really eager to do a video on, but I need time to play with it. And this is an ARM-based Windows laptop. And you know what's funny? And I'd love to get some feedback from you all. It doesn't feel, Windows ARM doesn't feel any better than it did 2 years ago. Like, it just feels like it's just not, there's like no focus on it. So it's still just as confusing to me as it was before. Like, I don't see a compelling, like Apple's making a strong case like, hey, we're dumping all these Intel processors, we're making everything with our own silicon, this is the future. And the Windows thing, it's like, yeah, if you want, you can run it on here, but you'll pay more for the same performance with maybe a little bit more battery life. Like, I don't see the argument yet for that. And I saw somebody in the chat, and I apologize for missing it earlier, but somebody in the chat was mentioning about because I had tweeted about the rumor that Apple is going to bring back the 12-inch MacBook with an ARMed processor, and I am so in on that. Like, take my money, because I would love that, because I use a 12-inch MacBook right now on my desk. I'm looking at it right now. And the one that I have is 5.5 years old. It's getting long in the tooth, as they say. So if I could get like a really nicely performing ARM-based Mac that could run Final Cut Pro and I could edit video on it when I'm on the road, that'd be awesome. On the road, like we ever go anywhere anymore. But one day we will. That screw doesn't want to go back in, does it? There it goes. Get that one back in there. Yeah, so 30 days is pretty good, as Rob Hanks is asking. That's plenty of time. The one thing that 30 days doesn't afford you is the ability to see how well it lasts over the long term. But I found with most of the major brands that I typically end up owning one of their computers, or I recommend one to a family member to buy. And then I have a better sense as to how the brand does over the long term. So that's kind of how I look at it. But it's hard because, if I don't use it every day, you're not going to be able to do a good long-term review. So a lot of times what we're looking at is, this is what the experience is of it new. And here's what you'll get out of it from there. So, yeah, all right, so we're back together. And you know what I'll do real quick, because I have a few minutes. So I'm good until about like 3:15, 3:30 or so. So why don't we, so how long are we into this for right now? I'm just trying to see what our time is. It's almost about an hour. Why don't we boot this back up, and I will run a couple of the 3D Mark benchmarks on this thing real quick just to see how it performs. And then I will finish up my many things that I have to do today. And I also know when I'm the first to get one because the power supply is still wrapped up. So if the power supplies are not wrapped, then I know I'm the second one. All right, so we are going to just plug it in, and we'll run one of the 3D Mark benchmarks on it. Carol likes my bookshelf system I have behind you. You know, these things are some cheap bookshelves that I bought 6 years ago on Amazon, and I don't know if they still offer these or not. So I would have to go back and check my purchase history. But they worked out great, because what happened was I bought these before I remodeled the basement. I've got another one in the closet behind me in the back room there. Yeah, they're pretty easy to put together. I still remember the day I put them together. And I had two side by side initially, and then this piece came down from upstairs, and it worked a little better to have that piece. Although it's starting to come apart here. My wife's grandfather built that piece, which is pretty nice. Computer guy likes my hat. Yeah, I got this at one of the SpaceX launches. And David's Devices is talking about on the Amazon chat about the ports in the back. So yeah, I like the way they design these. Mine has the same deal on the back. So you get, you know, all of the cables that you're likely to plug in are all coming out the back of the computer. It looks nicer. And if you intend to use this on a desk, you know, it makes the cable management a little nicer. Although, as you saw last time we chatted, my cable management skills are far from good. All right, so let's get the power back on here. So LikeWow says, will 1080p gaming die after the RTX 3080 announcement? That is a good question. I don't think so. I think people want to get the highest frame rates. And so as long as the displays keep going up in their refresh rates, so this is a 240 hertz display. So if you want like the best image quality at the highest settings, you're probably going to want to stick with that. All right, so now I got to find the hard drive that I use that has that stuff on there. So let me grab that real quick. This will help Jake out because I'll have the Steam already installed on there for him. And we'll have him run some of the other tests. So we're just going to do the Time Spy test real quick. That's what I think I've got time for. And what we do is we have, I have a bunch of Steam games like pre-installed on these external hard drives. This one's a SATA drive, but it goes into this thing. And we've got an external hard drive now. And what I like about these is that they don't make these anymore. But these are just a kill. I mean, you can take any SATA drive, you just slide it on in, and now you've got an external. I mean, they're awesome, and they don't make them anymore, and it really bums me out. Yeah, I'll plug it into the back, because the back has the faster ports. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to go download Steam real quick, and we'll go from there. I'll tell you, the NVMe in here feels pretty quick. And I've got to get it on my Wi-Fi also, so let me go do that real quick. Normally I would connect up to my Ethernet, but it's probably better to just do it over Wi-Fi real quick. All right. So Ashish wants to know the price. The price on this will vary based on your configuration. So I think they start in the $1,500-ish territory, but that's kind of the lower end one, and then you know, a decent one is going to run you over $2,000. That's typically where they go. But like I said, I would look around like the holiday shopping season time because you often get a better deal during, the holiday shopping season. I got a good deal on mine. All right, so let's install Steam. And we'll get this going. This hard drive is fast. It's like everything you do on it is like super quick. All right, give it 1 second here. We'll just get get Steam going. And what I do, like I said, is what's cool about Steam is that you can load your games up on external media, and then you just point the computer at it, and you're good. So you can avoid having to download things over and over again. Okay. All right, so let me just log in real quick. And I got to grab the code, get some two-factor going on here, get that going, and then we'll take a quick look on. Now hearing the fans kick on. All right, bear with me for 1 second. It's funny, whenever I do these streams, I get like a ton of email that comes in all at the same time. Okay, so I got to just type this in real quick. All right. Okay, we are in. So now, what I'm going to do is we're going to point Steam. So if you go to the Downloads folder here and go to Steam Folders, you know what's funny too is when you have one of these high refresh rate displays, the computer feels faster, right? Because everything is just so much smoother. So we're going to go here and go to Steam, select those, close, OK. And now we should have the ability just to load up 3D Mark. And we'll agree, and it's going to, so it does like install some of the Microsoft stuff, but then it's ready to go. OK, so we got some questions. So some debate over the 1080p there. Londog says, do you find brand new machines using Windows 10 and viewing the device manager for drivers that you see the yellow flag? I'm noticing this on brand new. I haven't seen it too often. Sometimes I found that if you have the yellow flag and you reboot, then it usually corrects it. Although I will say most of the time when I get these loaners in from the major brands, they typically get everything queued up. So as you saw, we didn't have to log into this because they had an account already set up on it. So usually they get everything settled before you get it. Rob Hank says he's still using mechanical hard drives. It's a big difference on a PC. I mean, I use mechanical drives for storage, so my NAS is running mechanicals, but I have now an SSD cache on the NAS. Because it's amazing when I shifted from mechanical to SSD on my Mac years ago, it was like I couldn't believe the performance differences. It was worth the giving up the space. It's a huge, huge difference. Laz Martinez, any Shield videos in the future? I mean, I guess we'll probably do some more Shield stuff if there is anything to talk about. It's been frustrating me about NVIDIA lately is they used to get me press releases whenever they had something on the way, and now I never hear it from them anymore. So like I find out when everybody else does, and I'm often scrambling to get my videos put together. Like they didn't even tell me about the Chromebook thing on GeForce Now, and they're usually really good about that. So I don't know what's going on over there, if they don't like me anymore, or maybe they just have a new person that's not keeping me in the loop. Okay, so let's go and just run this sucker real quick here. Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to put it into performance mode. So let's do that real quick. There we go. So now we're in performance mode. And this will kind of let it run at full blast. So they have on these Lenovo laptops that if you want the best performance, oh, come on, I hate the McAfee stuff. If you want the best performance, you've got to put them into their performance mode. The fan's going to kick on more often, but I did notice on my last one, the one I bought last year, a pretty good bump in performance. So Laz Martinez, you know what? It's funny you should mention that because I was thinking about upgrading the hard drive or swapping out the hard drive on mine. So that might be something we do in the near future. I've been reading about it. It looks like it's not that hard to do. Like you just clone. Oh, I guess your problem is you don't have the drive imaged. So that could be an issue. You might have to try to get an image from somebody. So there's a question about the sound. It actually sounds pretty good. Actually sounds really nice. Better than mine. This is a real, I will say this much, the sound I think has got a real improvement over the other one. The other one was good, but this one sounds a lot better than the old one. I mean, I think for most gamers you'll have a headset attached, but it does sound a lot nicer. Again, I'm going to turn the sound off. It's so loud. You know what's funny too about these benchmarks is like you wish these were real games, because this would be, I think I mentioned this before, this would be like a really fun VR game, especially because the character kind of reaches in, you know, and grabs things out of, so like that mirror goes back in time. This is running pretty nice, and it's super smooth. This has got a 2070 inside, but this is a Max-Q 2070. And TechWishon's asking if I've seen any Max-Q dynamic boost yet. I have not. Because that was the one thing you got to be really careful about with these laptops is that whole Max-Q, because a lot of them don't tell you that you're getting a Max-Q. And you find out the hard way that you're not getting the performance you think you were going to get. So when I got the 2080 on last year's, I said, "Ooh, I got a 2080. I'm so excited." And then I realized it wasn't much faster than my 1080 desktop, right? So I was able to tweak the performance settings to get a little bit more out of it, but it was not anywhere near the desktop version. And that's the problem. When you look at something thin and light like this, you don't get the ability to get a desktop class performance out of it. So the fan noise is not bad on this. I mean, it's loud when it comes on, but it's definitely not as loud as last year's version. So they're definitely quieter. And right now, it's kind of turned it down a little bit. So I'm guessing this may not be taxing things as much. We'll see what kind of score we get when this finishes up. Now they're coming back on again. So fan noise, not bad. I would say it's probably a notch below what I've got on my current one. We're having a nice day, as I'm talking about the weather. So we're having some nice weather here in Connecticut today. It's really nice outside. I'm going to take the dog out for a walk after we're done with today's stream. Chris Schrow wants to know, does this support VR? Definitely. Yep, you could definitely do VR on this. No question about that. Rob Hanks, yes, TimeSpy will show us the thermals on this, so we'll take a look at those after it finishes running, for sure. Randy R., this is the Intel version. This has got the i7 on board. Running nice and smooth. This is going at about 50 FPS. And this is a pretty demanding benchmark. This is like their DirectX 12 benchmark. Okay, here comes the results. Oh, we got one more. That's right, we got this one, the CPU test. So Greg M., where are you located? You get snow by Halloween, huh? We had a pre-Halloween snowstorm one year that was very, very, kind of an anomaly, which knocked out power for a week, as everything else does around here. Londog likes this test. Yeah, I like these tests too. What I like about, I've been doing these tests now for so long that we've got a really nice database. So we can really look at what the performance is from one year's products to the next. And I'm hoping this McAfee thing doesn't screw up our results. Okay, so we got a score of 7,110. And if I go over to my benchmark page, by the way, if you want to see the benchmarks that I have, you can go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, and you can load up in view-only mode my spreadsheet that I use to keep track of all this stuff. And if I go over to the 3D Mark Octane result spreadsheet, which is our big master database, I will see how this one compares. And bear with me for 1 second, folks, while I get the screen ready for you. Okay. So my little MacBook is starting to get a little long in the tooth. So that's why I'm saying, I really could use an ARM version of this. Because I'm streaming this over NDI to the vMix computer. I've got the stream running here on Shadow, so this thing's doing a lot right now. Okay, so, whoa, this actually does. Okay, so here's mine from last year. So this is my Lenovo Y740 in performance mode, and I've got let me zoom in so you can see it better. So I have the 2080 Max-Q with the prior generation Intel chip, and it is a little better than this one as expected because this has the 2070 Max-Q, so that's why you'll see the score being what it is. So I am going to drop another line under here, and this is where this one's going to end up. So this is the Lenovo Legion 7i, and this has an RTX 2070 Max-Q and an i7, what was the processor? I think it'll tell us here. i7 10750H. All right. And the score is 7,110. Just gotta fix that. Okay. 7,110, 46.38 FPS. And then we've got, on the second test, 41.27 FPS, and then 23 even on the CPU. So, it's about where I would expect it to be. And here's the thing, we get these new computers every year, but the guts often perform the same. So, just to give you an example, let me highlight, again, my personal machine. So this new one, if it had the 2080 Super in it, would do better. But this model with the parts that it has, gets pretty close. But mine is still a little faster. So there you go. Good stuff. And you can go to Lon.TV/benchmarks, and you can see this big chart for yourself, and you can go down and see all these other things that we've tested over the years. And then up here is my current configuration upstairs. So I've got a 2080 Ti and an i9 9900K, and that's what I got on that one. So that desktop will do, at least on the GPU side, not quite twice as fast, but close to it. So pretty good stuff. Now there were some questions on the thermals, so we can get a sense as to what it was doing. So at its height, if I go to the GPU temperature, it looks like it was maxing out. The GPU was hitting about, come back. About 68 degrees Celsius is where the GPU was. And then on that last test, let's go back to here. So on the last test where it did both the CPU and GPU simultaneously, we had 94 degrees Celsius on the CPU. So that's what you got there. So LongDog says, my friend just spent about $2,500 on an i9 with 32 gigs of RAM, all the amenities. It's a 2080 card. He just got it like 2 days before the 3080 was announced. I know that's the problem. It's just like, it's just how this stuff works. And what's funny is that when the 2080s and the 2070s came out, the performance jump from the prior generation was not terribly substantial. The RTX features were the big story. But if you were to look at like the 1080 Ti, well after the 2080s came out, like the 1080 Ti was still highly coveted, especially for GPU or for VR people, right? So, the 2080 Ti was kind of like the performance boost that people were looking for. And for me, it was a big boost because I went from a 1080 to that. But now, you can get the 3070 and get better performance for $500. And now the top end is super powerful. So that's just how these things work, and it stinks. And Tech with Sean's going to go right to the 3080 and move the 2080 Ti to his wife's PC. And actually, that's what I've been doing also, not to my wife's PC because she uses a little MacBook, which, by the way, is back to Louis Rossman's place for repair. They're very good to work with, by the way, Louis Rossman. I sent my wife's laptop there to have them fix it. So what I did for the production computer that we have here is I took the 1080 that was in my gaming machine and I relocated it down here for this thing to use. And what I'm not sure about is when I switch to, so what I'm going to be doing is switching from 1080 to 4K because all my cameras do 4K. So once my new internet connection drops in, we're going to 4K. So when I do that, the question is, can the 1080 handle vMix running at 4K with 3 or 4 or 5 different sources? And I'm beginning to see that it might not. So what I may end up doing is taking the 2080 Ti out of the gaming machine and put that down here and then buy the new one for up there. And then I'll sell the 1080 to somebody. So that's probably where it's going to go. And Laz makes a good point. Like these 2080 Ti's, which are, you could probably still buy them for $1,200, are now not worth $500, right? So that's how it goes. And I'll tell you, like it kind of reminded me of the old days because you would buy like the latest Pentium whatever, and then the next thing would come out and it was just light years faster. And we haven't been seeing, especially on PCs, like that huge progression of performance. And even if you look at the 3080 and the 3090 or whatever else they call these things, we're not seeing from year to year the progression that we used to see. And so like that upgrade used to be an every year thing, and now it's like every 2 or 3 years to get that much of a performance boost. So it's interesting. So we'll see where it goes. I'll keep an eye on things. And for me, I just wanted like a good VR GPU. So the 1080 was relatively good for VR, but not great. So the 2080 Ti has been really good for that. And what I'm really eager to see is how well my current setup will work with Flight Simulator when they come up with the VR update for it. So that should be interesting. So Ashish asks a very good question, actually, about the Legion 5 or the 7, which is the better value for the money. And I've looked at both. We just reviewed the Legion 5 recently. And they'll perform relatively the same, right, for the most part, depending on the configuration options you choose. So you might be able to get a little more performance for the money on the Legion 5, but you don't get Thunderbolt. You don't have the nice metal design. So this is all metal versus plastic on the Legion 5. So this is a little thinner and lighter. I think it might get a little better battery life. So there's some, I would say hardware accoutrements here that you don't get on the 5. So if you don't care about something being thinner and lighter, then the 5 might be the better value. So that's where that is. So Handheld Obsession, I think you asked this the other day also about the new Star Trek show Lower Decks, and I've been watching it a little bit, and I'm not getting into it either. It just feels like sophomore comedy, which I never associated with Star Trek. I always felt Star Trek was more serious. Even though there was humor in it, it wasn't the driver. So yeah, I'm just not feeling the Lower Decks that much. Although I like the nostalgia in it, but it just doesn't feel like a serious Star Trek, which it isn't. It's well done, but yeah, it's not doing it for me either. So Natasha says, hey, I'm sitting here thinking, yay, a 1070 is affordable now. And that's what's also cool is that, because these new cards now are coming out, and I think this is kind of the logjam. So a lot of people were using their 1080s and 1070s and happy with them for a long time. Now that these new cards are out and the performance is that much better, I think now you'll see a lot of these other cards hitting the secondary market. So it's going to be good for everybody because all the upgraders have been waiting and waiting for something that's a really big performance boost for the money. Now they've got that. So I think it's going to be a very good opportunity for people to do their own upgrades. And the 1070, the 1080s, those are all good cards. And if you're just on a 1080p display, you're going to do just fine. I was playing some pretty decent 4K stuff on my 1080 upstairs when I had that configuration. So yeah, if you can get one, get one. Gustavo wants to buy a computer just for Flight Simulator. And I'll give you all a little hint of something you should do if you are buying a gaming machine. I got to tell you, I have the Game Pass Ultimate. And what a value that is, because you get, the whole Microsoft, gaming library, including Flight Simulator. So I didn't have to pay for it. It was already on my Game Pass, which was awesome. Just booted it up and there it was. So yeah, it's going to be good stuff. So I'm really excited for my new connection. The fiber optic guy came out about last week. And he scoped the place out. He's got a whole plan. They're going to run it underground through the existing conduit. And so when they do that, I'll do another update because it's kind of cool to see how this stuff gets put together. And then once the fiber's in place, we'll probably do a live stream where I'm going to do the transition to 4K. And I'm going to adjust a couple things. So I'm going to move the camera back a little bit to make things look. I'm just going to try to mess around a little bit with the overall look and feel of everything. So that'll be kind of a fun thing. And then we'll see if the GPU in here can handle multiple 4K sources. So right now I've got, on this one, I have 3 1080/30 progressive scan videos going in plus the MacBook. And if I pull up performance chart here, let me show you. So I'm really not sure what's going to happen when I do the 4K switchover, if I've got enough horsepower to handle it. So here, let me show you the screen that I'm looking at right now. So let's go, there we go. So this is my chart of the running system. So you can see over here, if you can see my mouse moving. So this is me. This is the computer camera right here. So that's camera 2. Camera 3 is the overhead camera. This is a list of recordings. So I can switch between recordings and then play these back for you. So this is like the video deck, if you will. This is my looping background, so if we ever do an overlay, I throw something in there, and then we've got another one for B-roll if I ever have B-roll to show you. This is what is broadcasting right now up to my shadow server, which is where I am running the stream in the cloud right now. So I have vMix running at home, and then I bought a second license. So if you look at this, this is vMix running in the cloud on a shadow server, and that's how I'm streaming out to you. So I'm basically doing a vMix call out of my local system here up to there. So that's all the stuff that's going on. So 3 video inputs, a stream going out, and you can see what's going on here. Now the reason why my Ethernet is receiving 50 megabits per second right now is because I'm sending NDI video from the MacBook to the computer. So that's why you see that much bandwidth being used, which is actually quite a bit. So that's what's inbound. And I'm just trying to see exactly why it's so much. It seems like quite a bit. Let me go back to the Mac here and just see what it's transmitting, because it tells me that it's sending, yeah, it's kind of weird. So that's the inbound NDI. And then the GPU, so you can see that we're utilizing about half the GPU horsepower to keep all these video streams in check. So that's where I think we might fall short when we go to 4K. So the 2080 Ti may have to get installed, and we'll find out when we get it going and we see where we're at with that. But I have plenty of GPU memory available, so I have 8 gigs on this card, and I think the 2080 Ti has a bit more than that. So we'll see how it comes together. So it'll be a fun experiment. See what happens, right? So Laz wants to know, is there pressure to go up to 4K streaming? No, not really, but I do, part of what I'm looking at here is that I have the capability of doing 4K, and when I have the faster connection, that means I can upload my videos at 4K, and so why not, right? I mean, it just would make sense to be able to do that, because YouTube supports that. I don't know if a higher resolution video impacts your position on search and algorithm, but I would guess that if YouTube wants to keep people glued to televisions, and there's a choice between presenting a viewer on a 4K TV with my 1080p video or somebody else's 4K video, I bet you it's going to choose the 4K stuff to throw into those slots. So that's why I would do that. And the side benefit is we could send up a 4K stream as well. So we'll see. Rob wants to know if I practice any more with Command and Conquer. No, I haven't done that. I need to start playing that again. That might be a good conference call game to play, right? So Greg M wants to know, when is the install date? I do not know. So the guy told me what's going to happen next is they're going to run the cable. So there's like steps involved. So you're not going to get a call about the install date until they get the cable terminated. So the step that we're waiting on right now is to get the fiber run to the house. And I'm guessing they got to bring it up the street too, because it's a direct connection. So they're going to bring that fiber up, and then he said we're going to leave it out where the conduit terminates by the house. We'll leave it all spooled up there. And then he goes, after that, the cable splicer comes in and gets you all spliced in. And then the last step is Comcast has to come and actually do all the network stuff. So that's kind of like, we haven't even had step 1 yet, at least for me. So, but it's going to be fun. So I think it's going to be great content just to talk about it. And then I'm excited to have a more reliable connection. So that's what I'm look forward to the most. Londog is designing a PC with Flight Simulator in mind. Yeah, I think if you can, work your way up to that, you're in good shape. And Chris Allegretti makes a good point too. I think consoles I think Microsoft sees this. The Xbox is still their platform for gaming, and the new one will be really powerful. But they don't seem to care whether or not you play on Windows or on Xbox. And if you notice, a couple of years ago, they started rolling games out. Their exclusives were available both on Xbox and PC in many cases, because it doesn't matter to them, right? They still get the revenue. So I think that's where it's going. I think the fact that Game Pass supports both platforms is telling as well. So we'll see what comes out of it. But I think if you were, in the market, I mean, certainly the Xbox Series X is going to be, I think, a good value for the performance profile of it. But you got to factor in that you can't do anything else with it but play games on it. So if you really want a computer that you can do your homework on or your business stuff on, then you might want to look at, going that road. So Londog says, hey, if the 3070 is going to be $500, what's a 2080 card going to be worth? Yeah, no, it's going to. I mean, the whole market's just going to drop. But like I said, I think it's going to be it's going to be a great opportunity because there's going to be a lot of people wanting to buy those new cards, and they will be selling those used cards to folks that can't afford the new ones. So everyone's going to get an upgrade out of this. So it's going to be. I think it's good for the geek and nerd community. JFZ says to Greg M that YouTube viewers ask for 4K. The equipment like cameras, capture cards, and similar to be capable. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into 4K because it's the file sizes are a lot larger. And then think about this from the perspective of just the basic editing. When I go that route, we're going to have to figure out how to get Jake more hardware to edit with because the computer he's using to edit the videos is my old MacBook from 2012. Which can't handle 4K at all, even in a proxy file. So that's going to be a whole nother thing. I probably could create 1080p proxy files to send to him. But what I'm going to experiment with actually is using Parsec, which is a great streaming software for PCs, is use Parsec on the Mac Mini we have in-house here and have him log in and edit on Parsec because it's a really good experience. And I think it might work, and it'll be faster to do that than our current workflow. And I haven't been having him do that just now because my upstream is so lousy, right? So, but I think we're going to go that route. But the 4K stuff is definitely something I want to do. Laz is wondering if I feel pressured. I don't feel pressured so much as it is that I can do it. And the only reason why I'm not doing it right now is because I just don't have the connection to upload. So when I did the upgrade on the broadcast PC here, the vMix computer, I put in a Blackmagic capture card. It's got 4 HDMI inputs, and it can handle 4K 60 on all 4 simultaneously. And these cameras do 4K 30, so we'll do 4K 30 and see where it goes. 4K 60 is a much bigger lift, but the PC I think is capable. And if it isn't, I can swap out the GPU and we should be good. So that's kind of where I'm going with it. And I'm seeing more and more creators going to 4K. So I figure I may as well do it too. And for me, it's a little more complicated because I shoot everything. I basically shoot my videos like I do a live stream, which is why these work so well for me because for me, the workflow to do a live stream is identical to the recorded video. So what happens here is I can switch cameras, I can do all the stuff that I usually do, and it's exactly what would happen if I was recording. In fact, you've seen me record videos while we do the live stream because I can just hit the R key on my keyboard here and I record, and I get the exact same image on screen. So, so that's how we're going to do it. So it's going to be fun. Krish wants to know, do I see a big quality difference between 4K and full HD? I've been watching, and I've been doing this on purpose, I've been watching some YouTube videos on my OLED upstairs, and I do notice that the videos in 4K do look sharper for a whole host of reasons. And I would imagine that maybe YouTube's doing some different codecs for 4K. The other thing that happens when you do take a 4K video and compress it down to 1080 is that the 1080 looks better after, from a 4K master essentially. So, it's just subtleness, but I figured why not? I can do it, and the videos will be more future-proof. The other reason to do it is that I don't keep a lot of my raw footage because of the file sizes. I just keep the final output files. So if all my final output files are at 4K, even that's a win. So that's kind of how we're going to be doing that. Rob Hanks says there's a Switch emulator on Android. I'll have to check that out. That'll probably run really good on the Shield, actually. And Londog makes a good point about the whole issue with bandwidth. Yeah, it's going to be a big deal. I mean, most people do downstream, but if you look at it now, like on Netflix and everything, everyone's 4K on Netflix, right? Or at least the Netflix content. So we'll see about that. Chris Allegret says, when are you going to stream the Super Mario 35 Battle Royale? I'm going to definitely do that. That looks like a lot of fun. Nintendo really knows how to make fun games, so I'm looking forward to that. And here's the mark of a good company or a good intellectual property. So think of it this way. You have Star Wars. How many times have you all bought Star Wars movies? I can tell you I have bought VHS at least 2 or 3 times, Laserdisc 3 times. Yeah, I bought the consumer, like the release version and then the special edition box set, or even before that, like the box set for Laserdiscs and then the special edition box set. I bought it on DVD. I bought it on Blu-ray. I got it on the 4K now. So, you know, that's a mark of good IP. Like you're willing to pay for the same thing all over again. And everyone's excited about Nintendo re-releasing Mario 64, Sunshine, and the other one, Galaxy. All great games. We all own them already. A lot of people do. Some people don't. But everyone's excited. We're going to play the games again. It's great. And think what a win for Nintendo that is. I mean, granted, they had some work to do to port them over, but they don't have to recode the whole thing. So that's a big win for them. They can repurpose existing content and sell it at full price. And they've been doing that with all the Wii U games, too. They've been really doing quite well there. Rob Hanks, I don't want to sound snobbish, but I've enjoyed playing on a console because you can just put your game on and play. And I think that's a very good point as well. The one thing that I think Microsoft could do for everybody is to design a lean-back interface for Windows so that you could more easily interact with it on your television. Now, what they do on Steam, which I think is awesome, if you've ever seen this, I'm sure you all have, if you go into big picture mode on Steam, they've got a great way for you to navigate. This has been around forever. This becomes kind of like a TV interface for navigating your library. It's wonderful. And it makes it a lot easier. In fact, I think you can buy games this way too. You can download stuff, so if I have things that aren't downloaded, it'll download them and then I can start playing them. And even in VR, this has been working really well. It's a much simpler interface. You're not dealing with the mouse and clicking through things. And it would be great for Microsoft to do something like this for Windows. Apple did years ago with the Mac. They had that remote control for the laptops, but they got rid of it. It's kind of weird. But I think that, you know, things would be better if they did have some kind of interface there. All right. Okay, I'm going to take a few more and then I got to run, because I got to get tonight's video ready. So, Chris Allegretta, if you're watching, I got the handheld. That is going to be working on next week. Maybe we'll do a live stream playing around with it a little later in the week. So be ready for that. I'll let you know. But I appreciate you sending that over to me. Let's see. Gustavo installed Windows on his MacBook to see if he can get used to using it again. Yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with Windows 10. I'll be honest. I'm using PCs more now than I have in the last 10 years. Windows 10 has been a big thing for Microsoft, I think. All right. Beat to Bubba is going to watch the live stream a little later. And yeah, so I have a couple of gaming streams that we're going to do. We are going to I think I'll do the Mario one when that's available, because that just looks like a fun game. The other thing I want to do is a live stream of the new Star Wars VR game, the Squadrons. I'm super excited about that. So if you have VR, or even if you don't, let me know if you plan to get the game and we can play, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So be on the lookout for that. All right, let's see. What else we got here? Natsuka R says, wouldn't it be cool if they could make a new laptop with the old GPUs to bring the cost down? Yeah, I don't know if I think they just don't have the parts. That's probably why they go to the new ones. So, all right, I got to run, everybody, but thank you all for tuning in. I'll keep you posted on the status of the hardware upgrade, or the connection upgrades here. So we will have those coming very, very soon, and hopefully, as time goes on, we will get a decent connection here at the studio. And yeah, keep those questions and comments coming in to say goodbye to the Amazon folks. Thank you for tuning in. And we'll wrap that up there, and I'll be back again soon. I'll probably do a stream over the weekend, so set your notification icons, or whatever those things are called, the bell, And I will let you know when I am back on again. And I thank you all for watching. I will talk to you all very soon. And if I didn't get to your questions, I'm sorry. But keep chatting, because I will definitely be looking forward to answering more questions and talking to all of you again in the near future. So thanks again, and we'll be back again soon. Bye-bye.